Hey everybody, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev.
Hello.
Hello, we're back.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Uh so this book has been out for a long time, and I just recently listened to it. And it's Mel Robbins' Let Them Theory. And I will tell you that this is one thing that I've embraced since I started listening to this. Now, mind you, I'm a recovering control freak, and pieces of that still show up once in a while, and I know it. And by the time I've reacted, it's it's already shown its face. Like it's all, I'm like, oh crap, there it is again. I did it. Okay. But since listening to this, and I've been practicing that for years, but listening to this book, it helps that you hear things in a different way sometimes. You know the information, you know the practice, you know all the things, but then there's this one person who puts out content and just says it differently, that you're just like, oh yeah, yeah, right. Well, that would be what I would contribute to Mel Robbins' book, Let Them Theory. I'm not an affiliate of it. I am not a promoter of it. I am just telling you I have listened to it and I am listening to it again. And there have been so many moments, and this has been over the course of 2 to 3 weeks that I've listened to it and have started over. There have been so many times in that time frame where things are happening and I feel myself getting all like, I gotta get in here and take care of this. And what are they doing? And I just want to just flip a lid. And in my head, I hear, nope, let them. So I just take a breath and I will just keep doing whatever it is I'm doing. And I relax in my body and I let them do what they're going to do. And I keep moving on. And I will tell you, just being a recovering control freak, for one, when you start learning to pull back and not have to be all up in everybody's business and trying to control things and trying to tell people what to do, when to do, why to do, so that you can be happy, so that, it's just a whole cycle. When you really sit with it, that's the synopsis. We can deep dive into that if you want, but that's just a quick synopsis of being a control freak. It's freaking exhausting, especially when people won't do what you want them to do.
Damn it.
I know you now, you just get more frustrated and irritated and pissed and angry and all the things. And you're the one, having the experience, and they're sitting there looking at you like, what is your problem? What, why are you being like this? Why you got an attitude? Right. When I'm just like, let them, I can take a breath and watch it unfold, because I also have to remind myself that I don't know everything. And just because you've been doing it one way doesn't mean there's not another way to do it. It's also an opportunity for somebody else to show their talents. And so you just go, let them proceed, let them figure it out, let them fail at it, let them realize that the way you have been telling them to do it or there's a reason why you've been telling them to do it this way, and they don't want to follow that line, or that path, and now they got to do it their way. You got to let them do it their way so they figure it out. That is just our human nature. You think about when you were a teenager or a kid, and your parents told you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and you did it anyway. And then you're like, damn, they were right. And then that made you even more mad because, as a teenager, you don't want your parents to be right because you know everything, right? Teenagers know everything. Trust me, because I was one of them. But yeah, it's been, and she even says this in her book, like, it's freeing. I mean, you just Just go, okay, that's what they're going to do. Just let them do it. But I don't, and we've said this multiple times, I don't have to react to it. There's a difference between reacting and responding. I don't have to react to it. I get to choose how I show up in this
It's true.
dynamic.
Yeah. And it's up to us to decide, do I want to maintain my peace or do I want to go ahead and dive into this? It's a total choice. I love it. And it is a choice. And we don't have to say anything at all. We don't. And guess what? There's been so many times that someone's told me how to do something, and we kind of will take that idea with what they've given us, and sometimes we change it and we might make it even better. We might change it to, make it even worse. But there's still a learning process that happens. It just reminds me of my youngest grandson. Mom's telling him, "Don't touch that. It's hot." He walks right over there to touch it because he wants to know what's this hot. Like, oh, okay, now I get it. So now he understands that, but he still had to check it out himself.
Right.
That's normal. Like you said, that's just a natural state. We're going to take everybody's word. That's the problem these days. We've been taking somebody else's word for things instead of doing our own exploration, instead of seeing how it resonates in our bodies, instead of doing our own research. There's so many things that we've given, that's giving your power away. And then when you sit and worry about it, or if you were to sit and be like, oh no, you shouldn't be doing that, you're giving your power away to something that's hitting a wall. And then it's disturbing your peace. And is it necessary? Well, I'm finding that it's not necessary to disturb my peace. It's all right for someone to have an outburst, or it's all right for someone to do whatever. It's for them. That has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And when we realize that it has nothing to do with me, you just let them have their opportunity, just like someone else let us have our chances to be able to grow into the persons that we're growing into now from our experiences.
Yes. And there was one in particular time with a person. I could overhear a conversation and I just sat at my desk and I was like, don't do it. This is not going to turn out well. And I knew it in my being. I'm like, this is not going to turn out well. But I let them go through the motions. And then it was repercussions. And I told the person mainly involved, I said, I knew this wasn't going to go well. When you guys were talking about it, I knew it wasn't going to go well. And the response was, well, then why did you let me do it? Because I have been around this person enough to know that they are going to argue for their limitations. They're going to argue their point, and I just am not in the space to have those conversations. If you feel that strongly that what you're going to do is the right thing to do, then do it. And I'm not going to hold you back. You go right ahead and make your decision, your choices, and do what you're going to do. But by me saying that, it felt like in the tone of the words that now I could be blamed, me could be blamed because I didn't speak up. So I was kind of in a no-win situation. I could say something and they're going to argue their point. Fair enough. Or I don't say anything and they follow through. And I then tell them, I knew this wasn't going to go well. Now I get to be blamed for it. Right. So it didn't matter. I'm like, whatever. But in the moment that the conversations were happening, I was able to just be like, let them figure it out. Because we have to allow people the freedom to figure it out.
Yes.
Your kids are smart. We think kids are dumb. The kids are not dumb. They are actually very smart. And we give them the freedom to figure something out at a younger age. Look how much more powerful they will be as an adult. But what we do is we enable them. Oh, don't do it that way. And then you step in and you do it. How many parents out there did their kids' school projects so they could get an A? Right? It's like, now how are they going to figure out later in life how to do something that's challenging or there's adversity? and they can't seem to think for themselves because the parent always stepped in and took care of it. And so we got to find that, find our place. Our place is to keep them safe and to help them grow and learn so that they can survive in the world on their own when they step out as an adult. So we want to encourage them to figure things out. They got to figure out the stove is hot. They got to figure out the fire is hot. They have to figure that out. If they never experience what fire feels like or hot feels like, then what's going to happen when they're an adult? If they don't learn how to use their thinking skills to figure out how to navigate challenges or adversities, then what are they going to do when they're out on their own? Similar to what you said, we believe too much into what other people say or do, and we don't question it. So now they become followers. Well, this person will take care of it for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for these people that you trust who are really there to take advantage of you. But because you're not in tune with handling things on your own, or find a trusted person, then it's going to be failure after failure after failure. And there's not going to be any wins.
Yeah. It makes me want to say to the kids when they do something or when they're going to make a decision, and just ask them, what does your intuition tell you? Mm-hmm. It's just guiding them back within, because we really need to. Otherwise, we are doing a disservice. Honestly, I know I did that. I did that raising my kids because I was trying to keep them safe.
Yeah,
And
your
I had my
definition of safe.
exactly,
Yeah, I
exactly.
did too. I did
Or
it too. I'm not
yeah.
innocent of this.
And now being the grandparent, it's like I'll bring the kids home and it's like, oh, I ate 2 scoops of ice cream. They're like, oh, mom, you're just doing too much. I'm like, we had a good time and we had 2 scoops of ice cream. It was good, healthy ice cream. So hey, you know, it's being able to enjoy that stuff. But I don't know. I definitely operate a lot differently than I did then. And so I'll watch things as they're doing things now. I haven't always, and that's been helpful even with my third grandchild. I have stepped back quite a bit and just let him have his place. You all good? When he falls down, gets right back up. Because before I would have made a big deal about that stuff. Oh, got to keep him safe. Like it was up to me. And it's like they've got their own team. They don't need me. Again, that's exhausting. Trying to stay on top of all that. We're just guides.
Yeah. And for my son, when he was younger, my whole thing was, don't freaking make a mess, because then I have to clean it up.
Yeah.
Right. And so you try
Yeah.
to navigate and control the situation so there's no mess made. And man, did I just, ah, and I think back about it and it's like, God, girl, it's a lot.
It is. And that's what we were taught though. And then we add more stuff to the plate. Like we've got a family and we've got kids and we've got a job and we're going to add some more dogs and more cats. And I'm not saying that everybody does that, but I had done that. And it's like I sit back and look at my kids now and having animals and stuff and trying to raise a family. It's like, where do you have time for all that? Because you really don't. We intentionally are spreading ourselves thin because that's what we saw somebody else doing. I grew up with a mom that worked 3 freaking part-time jobs. She was a single mom, and she had me and my sister until she met um my stepdad, and she had my brother. But it's like all these things. She worked her tail off. So that's what I learned where it was from. She was in a hurry from one place to the next. That's where I learned a lot of it. Got to get to the job. It wasn't a matter of leaving on time and then taking your time, or just recognizing you can't do that these days. If they tell you to be there 8, you can't show up at like 8:20 every day because you're just trusting your intuition. You might get fired, but it might open up a doorway for you to be your own boss. And then if you can get there 10, 15 minutes later, it's okay. But it's just processing all that stuff and it's seeing how it feels, what feels right for you. Some people like to work in those kind of environments. I like a more looser environment,
Yeah.
more free.
Yeah. And I learned the things from my mom and my grandparents and the people around me. And that's what I practiced with my son. And um And at the same time, when we become an adult on our own, we tend to be control freaks because it's how we feel like we are in control of our life. Whereas as a child, a kid, teenager, you have your parents telling you what to do, when to do, why to do, where you can go, who you can't hang out with, all the things. And so you're like have no control of your own life. So it seems. And then when you become an adult, their controlling behavior now becomes your controlling behavior because that's who you learned it from. But because you're an adult in charge of your own life, you think you're in control of those around you and the situations, which in fact, you are not. Let me just say that you are not. You think you are, but you are not. Um, you just have control over yourself. And that's where it comes back to this let them is I get to choose my response or my reaction to a situation or to a person. If they want to be yelling and out of control, as long as I am not in harm's way, let them show up the way they're going to show up. If I'm in harm's way, my response would be probably to pick up the phone and call 911 and be in control of me and in of the situation as to my safety. If somebody wants to do something on trial and error and in your head and your intuition says don't do it, you let them and let them figure it out and let them go through the motions. And now either they're going to figure it out or they're going to ask for assistance. And now if they ask, then I can offer up some guidance.
True.
Right? I get to choose how I show up in the environment, in the situation. And I don't have to jump into every little thing and think my way is the best way, which is one of the things I tend to do. And to pull back from that has been feels a lot better in my body actually, because all I
Nice.
have to do is in my head go let them, and I just go right back to whatever I'm doing. I don't stew on it. I really seriously let it go. And if they
I
want
like it.
my input, if they want my guidance, they will ask.
Yep.
Free advice um, usually isn't received well. You're just somebody giving your opinion. When somebody asks, so what do you think about this, Bev? I am open to what you have to say about it and your perspective, your opinion, your input. But if I'm moving and I got momentum going and I'm doing something and you come over here and you're like, knit, 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 I'm buzz off. I'm already got this going. I'm in it. I don't need your 2 cents, right? That's a pullback for me. That's like, okay.
Unsolicited advice. Yes.
Yeah.
I was so great at giving that out once upon a
Oh,
time.
girl.
I probably still do actually, but not like I used to.
Yeah. Yep.
Not trying to be forceful or not because I knew better. It's like it's really just living the experience myself and being in peace. I'm probably more in peace now than I've ever been in my whole life. And it's because I'm not trying to control everything.
Yeah. Yep.
And even recognizing like in relationships when you're trying to control things, it's like, well, first of all, you can't control them. You just can't. There is absolutely no control, but there's a lot of learning to happen from all that stuff of letting go and then like, well, what do you, same thing you just said. What do you think about this? Like processing it with your partner, with your teammate, working through things, gaining different understanding. And that could be me and you talking, that could be me and Freeman talking, that could be me talking to the kids. It's there's so many avenues. And it really again goes back to how am I showing up? Where is my energy at when I'm showing up for this information?
Yep. And there's just going to be resistance on the other end when you think you're going to control somebody because they have a different perspective of the situation and they're not seeing it through your eyes.
Yeah.
And then it just causes that much more discord between the two of you, or misunderstandings if there's not clarity. So you got to choose, right? They say choose your battles. I don't like to use the word battle. It sounds very that sounds like a lot of work and resistance, but choose wisely. What the other day, like, my husband's off for 3 days. He works four days a week, and the sink was full of dishes. And I have a lot on my plate. I got a lot of moving pieces right now, and I have to pick and choose where I'm going to spend my time and energy in the short amount of time I have between work and bedtime. And I have to eat in that time. And, it's like, so all week I've had to pick and choose where I have to spend my time and energy getting some things done that were important. So the dishes were not one of them. They're gonna be there tomorrow, trust me, and because they were. I had all day off. I come home from work, still full of dishes, and then we piled more on top of it that night. And I was just like, my old behavior would have been freaking freak out moment. Like, really? You've been home all day and you couldn't do the fucking dishes? And, I would have been irate. I would have shut down. I would have not, the silent treatment, the short temper, like in an instant, I would have been off the cuff, man. But I just went, okay, the dishes are still there, and I will find time to do them, and I will get them done. And I get to have clean dishes. Right now, I have to talk through myself through it. I get to have clean dishes. I get to have something to put food on, and now gratitude and all the things. So, again, it's how I show up. And then the next day, something needed to be done. So I set him up for success, and I said, hey, can you do this? And I asked, and he did it. No problem. But to not ask for what you want also creates an issue. So you can't think that I have a reaction to something where you've never asked for help. Right. And you would assume, which is what I would do in my past, assume you see there's a sink full of dirty dishes. Could you help out? Because obviously I haven't got to it yet. But the whole point of that is I get to decide how I show up in that situation. And the person that would have suffered the most in it would have been me. I would have been angry. I would have the tension and tightness in my body. I might end up with a headache. I might end up exhausted. I might, like, it's all me and my internal system would have been affected. But by me, just take a breath and go, okay, here we are. This is what needs to be done. Let's just do it.
Nice. And it's much more peace. Like you were saying, it is just much more peace. It's just letting go. It's a surrender of the way we think things should be. And it's communication. Communication is huge. It's huge. If we're not communicating, there's no evolution as far as that goes. And I was raised, I believe that my mom was one of those people that you should read her mind. And I learned I should be that same way, and everyone should read my mind. And how come you're not doing these things? But they don't think the same way that we think. Everybody doesn't. We all operate differently. I remember one of the things I remember before Jim passed. I remember asking him, like, why don't you just go out and clean the garage? Because I was the one that would always go out and clean the garage. And he's like, I don't know where to start. So he would get overwhelmed, and that he would just shut down. So he didn't know where to start. He didn't know what to do with any of that stuff. So it's just having that understanding, and it's not because it was a good or a bad thing. Maybe his mom was coming and cleaning up his room when he was a kid. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different reasons that we do a disservice to our kids, because I was the one that was always doing all the cleaning and all the stuff around the house. And when I had time, putting so much weight on my shoulders, I did it, not somebody else. It was me. It was
Right.
me, because that's what I grew up seeing.
Yep. That, yep. I'm right there with you. It's like I think women have more of an ability that we see something that needs to be done and we take care of it. And on that is, why couldn't you see this needs to be done? Why didn't you take care of it? Why, right? And now we start blaming and pointing the finger and getting irritated, aggravated, angry, and they're just like, what is your problem? They don't
Yeah,
have a clue what you're why you're getting so upset.
exactly. And they were raised totally different than we were.
Right.
Really, I mean, even in my own household, when I me and my sister and my brother, we were all three raised differently. We weren't raised the same way as each other.
Right.
We just weren't. And so we take that into our lives, whether we can go and just automatically, you know, get down and set and get the plan done and go get the yard done and go get the house done and do all this stuff. It's just how whatever our training was or whatever the environment was that we were learning in and absorbing all that information.
Yeah. So majority of your way of being is learned behavior from those who raised you or had a significant um, effect on your life when you were younger, including teachers, neighbors, friends, families. It could have been, it is, not could have, it is a multitude of people who had um, a say or demonstration of how you're going to be when you got older. And so you think about, maybe you have a way different relationship with your parents now. Maybe there's been some healing, some changes in the dynamics of your family connections. But back then, when you were a child, they were a completely different person. Like, they is maybe night and day. Like, I am night and day compared to how I was when I was raising my son. And if I was to raise a child today, they would turn out completely different than uh, the one I've raised, who is now in 30. So because I'm different, I would provide a different environment. I would provide different understanding of being a child, allowing them to be a child. Like, I have more of an understanding. We didn't have this playbook as a person having a child, because it was, grow up, get your education, get married, have kids, have a job, and you just went through the motions, but nobody gave you a playbook on how to move through those motions, how to navigate these systems, and your emotional state and your mental state and your nervous system. Nobody gave us those playbooks, and so we didn't know the rules. We didn't know how to operate or navigate and in a healthy manner. And so now today it would be a completely different experience, and this is typically why grandparents are different with the grandchildren than they were with their own kids. And it's an interesting dynamics, because we all say, well, you know what, when I was a kid, my mom didn't let me get away with that, but now they're letting their grandkids do it, maybe eating 2 scoops of ice cream, just before dinner or whatever, before bed. They wouldn't let me do it, but they're letting their grandkids do it. Because they've moved through some things in life, and now they have just a different understanding of being a kid. And like, didn't I won't say I didn't have the opportunity to have a childhood, but I had to grow up fast. And so I was not, I don't feel like I was really had the space to fully be a kid. So there was things I need to know and understand at a very young age for survival. And so because of my programming, that affected me in raising my son. And that, again, going back to the controlling thing, that's a big, huge piece of it.
Mine too. And now then I'm thinking, what kind of school do we need? Master creator school, because we're master creators. We're creating all the time. And so it's like creating the things that we want to experience in our life. Gosh, we could see so many more amazing inventions in the world if there was a lot more freedom to have those inventions instead of it being so controlled, instead of it being the way we think it should be, instead of parents expecting their kids to grow up and be attorneys and doctors and lawyers. And these were the expectations once upon a time. And now it's like, I like the expectation of you going out and doing and being the best person you possibly can in this world, whatever that looks like to each individual.
Yeah. So I would recommend reading the book, listening to the book. Again, I'm not an affiliate, I'm not making money off of it, I'm not getting paid to promote it or anything else. I just think it's a very good way of hearing somebody talk about um, not feeling like you need to control everything. So learning flexibility and allowing yourself to experience more ease within yourself. Um, and it actually brings a little more peace. Might be a little rough at the beginning. It's okay. I understand. When you're a recovering control freak, it's a little trying to step back and just hand the reins over and let them do what they're going to do. But really, it's about self-awareness and how you're going to show up in the experience yourself. And so giving more self-focus instead of the external focus is really what that's about. So I do recommend getting in that book, and like I said, I'm on round 2 of it. I am listening to it again. I'll probably listen to it 3 more times after that, because each time there's something different that I hear. And that's what we do. That's how we operate. So anyway, um, good conversation. And I think there are many people that want to hear content like this or have these conversations or are interested in learning more about self awareness. So you can be resourceful. You can share our content or any other spiritual teacher or influencer, any content that resonates with you in a good way, I would say. Anything that's helping you be and do better within yourself, I would say share it. And again, I'm sharing this book because I think it is very impactful and very beneficial. So if you want to be resourceful of our content, you can find us on many platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. And we're under the title of Amy and Bev Community. So any other words?
I just want to remind people of what you had said earlier is let them. Instead of trying to control it, let them. Obviously, if as long as no one's being harmed or hurt or anything like that, or in danger. But it's letting them. It's not trying to control it at all.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the practice this week.
Oh, and it is a practice. Let me tell you what. Practice, practice, practice. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out with us. Tea time with Amy and Bev. We'll see you next time.
Bye.